Picture this. You're a fresh-faced kid from a backwater rock called Earth, staring down a squad of smug alien warriors who look at you like you're yesterday's lunch. They tower over you with tentacles, claws, and eyes that glow like dying stars. Fragile primate, they sneer. But in the blink of an eye, 2 minutes flat, you drop the biggest brute in the room without breaking a sweat. Welcome to the edge of the galaxy, where underdogs don't just bite back, they devour the whole damn pack. Buckle up, space cadets. This is the legend of how one human turned a mock battlefield into her personal graveyard. Hey viewers, before we dive into the chaos, what's the one human trick you'd pull to shock an alien overlord? Drop your wildest ideas in the comments. I read them all and might shout out the best ones in the next vid. Alright, let's launch. Our story kicks off in the year 2147, when humanity finally cracked the stars wide open. We clawed our way through climate wars that turned oceans into boiling cauldrons, AI uprisings where machines decided they were the real bosses, and that one awkward phase with the rogue nanobots that turned everyone's coffee into jello and half the population into walking hives of itching complaints. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepped us for the Galactic Concordance, the massive alliance of species who'd been zipping around the cosmos for millennia, trading tech like kids swap baseball cards, swapping recipes for glow-in-the-dark salads that tasted like regret, and occasionally squashing upstart worlds like bugs under a cosmic boot. Earth? We were the new kids on the block, labeled deathworlders, for our planet's twisted love of earthquakes that could swallow cities whole, hurricanes that spun like vengeful gods, and reality TV marathons that could drive anyone straight to therapy or worse. The Concordance let us in, but barely, with the kind of reluctant nod you'd give a stray dog that might have rabies. Useful for grunt work, they said in their haughty, multitonal voices. Tough hides, sure, but brains like overripe fruit squished underfoot. Ha! Famous last words that would echo through the void like a bad joke. Enter Lieutenant Elara Voss, mid-20s, built like a coiled spring from years of Marine boot camp where drill instructors screamed motivation into your soul, and weekend rock-climbing escapades on sheer cliffs that laughed at gravity. Elara wasn't born with a silver spoon. She grew up in the sprawling megacity of New Chicago, dodging drone strikes from corporate skirmishes that lit up the night sky like deadly fireworks, hacking vending machines for extra protein bars that tasted like cardboard dreams, and learning early that survival meant outsmarting the system before it outsmarted you. When the Concordance scouts showed up with their shiny recruitment holos, projecting visions of adventure beyond the solar system, vast nebulae swirling like cotton candy, planets with rings that sang in the wind, and battles that made Earth's wars look like playground scuffles, she signed up faster than you can say. Zero-G nausea, or regret a bad taco. Why join the Galactic Defense Academy? Her mom had asked over a crackling comm link from their cramped apartment, the screen flickering with interference from nearby fusion plants. Elara grinned, holstering her sidearm with a practiced flick. Because Mom, someone's gotta show those tentacle heads how we do barbecue, and bayonets. Plus, the pay beats flipping synth burgers. Her mom sighed, but there was pride in her eyes, the kind that comes from knowing your kid's about to punch the universe in the face. The Academy floated like a colossal silver lotus in the shadow of Elysium Prime, a gas giant that swirled with storms big enough to swallow Jupiter whole and spit out the rings as confetti. Recruits from 100 worlds poured in like a flood of bizarre lifeforms, the crystalline Vexery, who phased through walls like ghosts in a haunted house, their bodies shimmering with inner light that changed colors with their moods, the hulking Croth, with hides tougher than tank armor forged in volcanic forges, muscles that could bench press a shuttle, the sly Lyrics, who could hack a shield generator with a flick of their proboscis, their antennae twitching like living antennas picking up secrets from the ether. And then, the humans. Just 3 of us that cycle. Elara, a lanky engineer named Jax from the Australian outback where survival meant wrestling crocs and outrunning bushfires, and a quiet sniper type called Riley from the Siberian tundra, where winters froze your thoughts solid. Orientation was a circus of cosmic proportions, with species bumping into each other in ways that would make a diplomat cringe. Grand Admiral Zorith, a 7-foot avian with feathers like polished obsidian that caught the light in razor-sharp gleams. perched on his podium like a king surveying his realm, beady eyes scanning the hall with predatory precision. "You are the future shield of the stars," he trilled, voice like wind whistling through razor wire, echoing off the vaulted ceilings adorned with holographic star maps. "But remember, unity demands discipline. No species above another, lest the fabric of our alliance tear like fragile silk." Offstage, the whispers flew like arrows in the dark. A Croth cadet, muscles rippling like seismic waves under his scaly skin, elbowed his buddy with a grunt that shook the floor. "Look at the soft skins. They'll crumple in the first sim run like wet paper." A Vexery shimmered closer to Elara, their form flickering like bad reception on an old Earth TV, voice a harmonic chime that set teeth on edge. "Deathworlder? More like suicide volunteer. Your gravity alone would crush our young, and your atmosphere? Poison to our crystals." The lyrics nearby clicked their mandibles in agreement, their compound eyes reflecting Elara like a funhouse mirror. Elara just smirked, adjusting her envirosuit with fingers calloused from years of tinkering with junkyard tech. She'd heard worse from drill sergeants hungover on synth whiskey, their breath alone a weapon. "Bring it, Feathers," she muttered under her breath, low enough not to start a fight but loud enough for Jax to hear. He chuckled, his Aussie accent thick as Vegemite. "Reckon we teach 'em poker first? Bluff our way to victory, mate?" Riley, ever the stoic with eyes like frozen lakes, just nodded, polishing her scope with methodical strokes. "Or we skip the games. Straight to the kill. That's how Tundra teaches you, quick or dead." Week 1 was Theory Overload, Xenobiology 101, where they dissected why Croth could regenerate limbs like lizards on steroids but hated spicy food that made their scales itch. Quantum Tactics, drilling formations that made Napoleon's marches look like kindergarten hopscotch, with holos projecting battles in 4D that made your head spin. Elara aced the physicals, push-ups in 3G that crushed lesser beings, sprints through zero-ammo vacuums where one wrong breath meant lights out, but the aliens still side-eyed her like she was a glitch in the Matrix. "Impressive for a mammal," one lyric sneered during mess hall, slurping a nutrient slurry that smelled like wet socks. "But can you think under fire, or just flail like your primitive ancestors?" The real test loomed larger than a black hole, the Crucible. A full immersion sim vault, jacked straight into your neural link with wires that hummed like angry bees, feeding sensations so real you felt the burn of lasers and the chill of void. No respawns in the first round, just pain feedback dialed to bruise, not break. Enough to make you remember your mistakes and bruises that lasted days. Objective: secure the Nexus core from waves of hostile AIs modeled on extinct predators from nightmare worlds, creatures with teeth like chainsaws and hides like living metal. Teams of 10, mixed species to force that unity Zorith preached. Elara's squad? Her 2 Croth bruisers named Grok and Thorn, built like walking mountains with tempers to match. A Vexery infiltrator called Sylph, whose phased form could slip through cracks like smoke. 3 lyrics techs with gadgets that could rewrite reality on the fly. And a pair of avian scouts with wings that sliced air like knives. Strategy? Grok rumbled as they strapped in, his voice like gravel churning in a blender, echoing in the pod bay lit by sterile blue lights. Thorn flexed, cracking his knuckles with pops that sounded like gunfire. "We charge. Smash the bugs into paste." Sylph's form wavered nervously, crystals pulsing with anxious light. "Coordinated breach. Phased entry on my mark, precise as a laser cut." The lyrics nodded, their proboscises twitching. "Data streams first, jam their senses." Elara leaned back in her pod, helmet sealing with a hiss that sealed her fate, the neural interface prickling her scalp like electric fingers. "Nah. We hit M where they sleep. Ambush style, human special. Quiet feet, loud results." The others exchanged glances, a mix of skepticism and curiosity rippling through the group. "Ambush?" A lyric scoffed, voice dripping with condescension. "That's primitive. Inefficient. Like using rocks when you have fusion." Grok snorted. "Let the soft skin try. Worst case, we learn from her corpse sim. Trust me," Elara said, eyes gleaming with the fire of someone who'd survived worse than sim death. "Or don't. Your funeral. But I've danced this tango before, Earth style, where hesitation gets you buried. Drop in. The sim bloomed around them like a digital flower unfolding, a jagged asteroid field laced with derelict hulks twisted like forgotten skeletons, gravity wells yanking at your guts like invisible hands, the void alive with distant star twinkles and the hum of simulated danger. Enemy signatures lit up on HUDs, swarms of razor-clawed drones buzzing like angry hornets, hulking behemoths with plasma cannons that glowed like malevolent eyes, and those sneaky shadow wraiths that cloaked in the dark, invisible until they struck. Form up! Sylph phased forward, vanishing into a wreck with a shimmer, her voice echoing in calms like a distant echo. The Croth lumbered ahead, shields raised like walking fortresses, energy fields crackling. Lyrics hung back, fingers dancing over hollow consoles to jam signals, code streaming like digital rain. Elara? She melted into the shadows of a crumpled freighter, pulse rifle humming low against her chest, heart steady as a metronome. Human stealth doctrine, move quiet, strike dirty. No grand charges that announce your arrival, just patience, observation, and an itchy trigger finger honed from urban hunts where the prey could shoot back. First contact hit like a meteor storm. Drones buzzed in from all angles, lasers stitching the void with deadly threads of light. Grok roared, a bellow that vibrated through suits, smashing one midair with his vibroaxe, sparks flying in slow-motion arcs, chassis crumpling like tin foil. Thorn covered him, bolts chewing through another with mechanical precision, his laugh a guttural bark. See? Smashing works. Crush them under heel. But the behemoth lumbered from cover, a walking fortress of chitin and fury, cannons charging with a whine that rattled teeth and set nerves on fire. Sylph flickered in for a sabotage run, her phased form slipping through armor like a ghost. But a wraith decloaked behind her, claws extended like scythes, eyes glowing red with programmed malice. Time slowed to a crawl, the sim's physics engine stretching seconds into eternity. Elara's HUD pinged, 158 into the sim, adrenaline surging like rocket fuel. She rolled from cover, boots magnetizing to the hull for leverage with a soft click, body moving on instinct drilled into muscle memory. No fancy phasing, no Reagan hide, just raw calculation, eyes scanning for vulnerabilities like a predator spotting weakness. The wraith's blind spot? A hair trigger joint where claw met arm, exposed in its lunge. Elara squeezed off 3 rounds, crack, 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 the recoil kicking like a mule but controlled. The shots punched through, severing servos with precision sparks. The wraith spasmed, twisting in agony, exposing its core, a glowing orb pulsing like a heart. One more burst. Boom. Shattered crystal rained like confetti across the asteroid, glittering in the starlight. Target down! Elara called, voice steady as Kansas bedrock amid the chaos. No hint of the rush pounding in her veins. The squad froze mid-fight, weapons pausing for a heartbeat. Grok blinked his compound eyes, axe still raised. You felled a shadow wraith? With slugs? In seconds? Thorn lowered his shield, scorch marks smoking. Impossible. They adapt faster than thought. Plasma rounds, actually. Elara corrected, already pivoting to the behemoth with fluid grace. Rifle recharging with a whine. Weak joints. Go for the knees or struts. Exploit the build flaws. She gestured sharply, mapping it out in the air. The beast fired, beams grazing Thorn's shield with sizzling energy that made the air smell like ozone. He staggered, cursing in guttural cross-speak that translated to something unprintable. Sylph rematerialized, shaken, her crystals dimmed. How? Those things adapt in seconds. Our simulations predict failure rates over 90%. Adapt to this. Elara vaulted a debris field, using a micro-thruster burst for height. Pure Earth parkour adapted to space, muscles burning with effort. She landed on the behemoth's back with a thud, mag boots locking like vices, the creature bucking beneath her like a wild bull. Ignoring the thrash, she jammed her rifle into a cooling vent, fingers flying to arm her sidearm's EMP grenade. Overload protocol, flood the core with electromagnetic fury, turn its power against itself. Grenade chime escalated to a whine, then massive kaboom, debris pummeling the squad like shrapnel rain, the behemoth buckling with a groan of rending metal, crashing into an asteroid with a thunderclap that echoed through comms and shook bones. 2:14. First kill logged, but the floodgates opened. Silence hung for a moment, broken by cheers from the lyrics text, their voices chittering like excited insects. Flawless takedown. Human, you are efficient. Beyond projections. Grok laughed, a bellow that shook his massive frame, slapping his thigh with a clap. Efficient? She's a storm in skin. A whirlwind of destruction wrapped in fragile flesh. But Elara wasn't done, far from it. Waves 2 and 3 hit like a freight train barreling through the void, drone swarms blacking out the stars with their numbers, wraiths slinking from every shadow like nightmares given form, behemoths rising from craters with roars that vibrated suits. The squad tightened up now, inspired by the human's audacity, moving as one for the first time. Sylph phased distractions, creating illusory duplicates that drew fire. Croth held the line like unbreakable walls, axes whirling in deadly arcs. Lyrics scrambled enemy nets, turning AI code against itself in digital duels. Elara? She danced through it all, a ghost with fangs, weaving between laser fire like it was a rainstorm back home. At 12 minutes, she baited a drone cluster into a gravity trap, collapsing the well on them with a timed explosive. Dozens pulped in an instant, wreckage forming a new barrier for the team. Use the environment, she barked over comms. It's not just scenery, it's a weapon. 18 minutes, flanked a wraith pack with improvised flares from scavenged debris, blinding their sensors long enough for Thorn to charge in and smash them to bits. Eyes are weaknesses, she explained mid-dodge. Hit and blind, then hard. By 30 minutes, the team was sinking like a well-oiled machine, banter flowing amid the bedlam. Human, your world must be hell, Sylph admitted, phasing beside her during the lull. To breed such ferocity. Elara wiped virtual sweat, grinning. Hell? Nah, just home. Teaches you to improvise or die trying. The assaults intensified, AI adapting with vicious cunning, drones learning to swarm in unpredictable patterns, wraiths cloaking deeper, behemoths deploying shields that hummed with energy. But Elara countered, drawing on Earth history. Guerrilla tactics from ancient wars, urban combat drills, even survival games from her childhood. She rigged traps with floating mines from derelict ships, turned gravity wells into slingshots for projectiles, and coordinated strikes that left the aliens gaping. At 45 minutes, the Nexus core gleamed ahead like a beacon of victory, a pulsing orb in a fortified crater, defended by the Sim's apex predator, a colossal leviathan, tentacles whipping plasma whips that cracked like thunder, eyes scanning for weakness with laser precision, its body a writhing mass of void flesh that absorbed hits like a sponge. Plan? Thorn grunted, shield scorched and dented, breath heavy in calms. Elara's lips curled in a predatory smile, eyes locked on the beast. We give it one hell of a welcome. Then we take it apart piece by piece. Sylph, decoys on flanks. Croth, pin the arms, tentacles. Lyrics, fry its nerves. I'll go for the heart. The Leviathan reared, a nightmare incarnate, broadcasting psychic shrieks that clawed at minds like invisible talons, disrupting neural links. Vexery froze mid-phase, lyrics glitched with static bursts, even Grok faltered, axe drooping as doubt seeped in. But Elara? She'd faced Chicago rush hour traffic, corporate assassins, and blizzards that buried cities. This was just Tuesday with extra tentacles. Flank left, she barked, voice cutting through the noise like a knife. Sylph snapped out of it, phasing a swarm of decoys that multiplied like ghosts. Thorn and Grok charged the tentacles, axes biting deep, chunks of simulated flesh spraying like ink, the beast howling in rage. The lyrics unleashed a virus swarm, code worms burrowing into armor plates, corroding them with digital acid. Elara went high, thrusters firing with a roar, rifles slung for her vibro knife, body arcing through the void like a comet. Human close quarters, dirty, desperate, deadly, honed in alleys where mercy was a myth. She latched onto a sensory stalk, knife carving through nerves with surgical savagery, the Leviathan thrashing wildly, slamming her against hulls with bone-jarring force. But she held on, whispering old marine curses like a prayer to the void, ignoring the pain feedback that burned like fire. Got your eyes? She growled through gritted teeth, severing the stalk with a final twist. Blind rage followed, tentacles flailing wild, smashing asteroids into dust. The squad pressed the advantage, Sylph slipping inside the maw like a shadow, sabotaging from within with phase disruptions. Croth lopping limbs with relentless swings, blood, simulated but vivid splattering, lyrics frying circuits, sparks dancing like fireworks. At 58:32, Elara dropped to the core access, knife plunging home into the Nexus link with a wet rip, energy surging like a supernova birth. The Leviathan wailed, a sound that pierced souls, imploding in a vortex of light that sucked in debris and spat out victory. Nexus secured. Cement. Alarms blared triumphantly. Score, 87% efficiency, a record-shattering number. Kills, squad total 142, a haul that made veterans jealous. Elara's personal tally? 89, including the boss takedown that sealed the deal. Pods hissed open back in reality, the squad stumbling out on wobbly legs, sweat slicked and wide-eyed, the pod base smelling of exertion and ozone. Faces flushed, breaths ragged, but grins spreading like wildfire. Grand Admiral Zorith himself strode in, feathers ruffled in what passed for avian surprise, his talons clicking on the deck. Cadet Voss, your metrics defy all projections. Explain this anomaly. How does a deathworlder outperform seasoned recruits? Elara wiped her brow with the back of her hand, grabbing a water pack from a dispenser and chugging it like it was ambrosia. Sir, it's not magic or luck. Back home, we don't have Reagan or phasing to bail us out. So we learn to predict the unpredictable, to improvise with whatever scrap the universe throws, to hit where it hurts before they even know they're bleeding. It's survival, pure and simple, Earth's gift to the galaxy. Grok clapped her shoulder, nearly dislocating it with his enthusiasm, his laugh booming. You fight like the old death gods of our legends. Silent, swift, unyielding, a force that bends fate. Sylph shimmered closer, respectful now, her crystals glowing warmly. We called your kind fragile, like glass in a storm. Now, I see a blade forged in silk, sharp and unbreakable. The lyrics text clustered around, proboscises waving in excitement. Your tactics, primitive yet elegant. We must integrate them. Share more, human! Word rocketed through the academy faster than a warp jump, spreading like a virus through comms and whispers. By evening chow in the vast mess hall, where species mingled over bizarre meals, Croth gnawing on rock-like protein, Vexery absorbing light nutrients, cadets clustered around the human table like moths to a flame. Tell us more Deathworld tales, a young avian pleaded, wings folded in awe. How do you endure such chaos? Earth sounds like a forge of warriors. Jack spun yarns about Australian drop bears, half-true tall tales of furry death from above, embellished with dramatic gestures that had the aliens gasping. Riley demoed a knife trick that peeled an apple in one perfect spiral, her movements a blur that drew applause. But Elara? She just smiled modestly, poking at her ration pack. Stick around. We'll show you in action. But remember, it's not about being tough, it's about being smart when toughness fails. Overnight, the nickname stuck, born in the heat of awe and respect. Scratched into bulkheads with laser etchers. Voss the Void Reaper. Whispered in dimly lit halls during off hours. She who claims souls in the dark, a whisper before the end. By dawn, it evolved, poetic, alien style, infused with cultural flavors. Elara, herald of the endless night, a Vexery poet murmured. Nah, too flowery for the grunts. The Croth grunted at best over sparring sessions. Death's whisper, simple and brutal. But the lyrics, with their love of drama and holodramas, sealed it in a viral holo memo that pinged every device. Behold the human who dances with doom, graceful as a shadow, lethal as a supernova. They call her the Shadow Bride. Wait, no, evolved again amid late-night debates in common rooms. Not bride, a lyrics argued, antennae twitching. Maiden, untouched by defeat, pure in her fury. Yeah, Grok boomed, pounding a fist. Death's own kin, the Reaper's daughter, harvesting foes like grain. The winner emerged from a group holo review of the Sim archives, where cadets replayed Elara's kills frame by frame, analyzing like sports fans. Scrawled on her pod in glowing nano ink that shimmered like stars. Death Maiden, a title that captured it all. The innocence of a cadet twisted into something mythic, a harbinger of ends. Elara saw it at Reveille the next morning, the ink pulsing softly. She chuckled, tracing it with a finger, and left it be. Legend born, etched in light and lore. And that's how one human cadet didn't just survive the crucible, she redefined it, turning a training exercise into a turning point for the Academy. From zero to Galactic ghost story in under an hour, her exploits inspiring curriculum changes. More human slots opened up, joint drills incorporating primitive tactics that proved anything but, and hell, Zoreth even started a seminar series. Lessons from the soft skins, why fragility forges steel. Packed with eager attendees. Elara Voss went on to lead fleets through nebulae battles, broke her pieces with plasma-scarred hands over negotiation tables laden with exotic treats, and introduced the galaxy to hot wings that made Kroth weep tears of joy and pain. She mentored new recruits, sharing stories of Earth that blended horror and humor, forging bonds that strengthened the concordance against real threats lurking in the dark. But that's fuel for another tale, another vid where humans shine. What about you, troopers? If you were in Elara's boots, what's the first move you'd make against that Leviathan? Hit the comments, let's build a squad strategy thread down there. Smash that like button if deathworlders got you hyped, subscribe for weekly blasts of human supremacy in space, and ring the bell so you never miss a warp. This is your host, signing off from the front lines. Stay fierce, stay human. Over and out.